Okay, so at this point, you understand the value of ChatGPT. You've been using it in your business consistently. You're starting to kind of like what it's producing, but you're like, I'm still spending a lot of time telling it the same things, training it, all of that stuff, going back and forth. So I want to walk you through how I took a lot of those kind of repetitive tasks that I was doing daily, if not weekly, and then created custom GPTs for them in my business so that I could eliminate the back and forth and really make AI and ChatGPT in this case work harder for my business. So for me, the three things that I was doing all the time was me and some team members were pitching me onto podcasts to be a guest on. I have my own podcast. So it was a lot of the creating the supplemental materials, validating like what I was talking about, making sure it made sense based off my client avatars and what I'm trying to achieve and what I'm offering right now. And a lot of social media and emails and all of that stuff, like social media captions, repurposing content across different channels, making sure that I'm actually working with each channel's specific algorithm and way of doing things and who's on that channel so that things were working harder for me rather than just like throwing spaghetti against the wall. So I want you to, before we even get into it, before I start to explain any of this and walk you through it, I want you to think through what are the things that you or your team are spending too much time on, or not even too much time, but like you're doing it all the time. You're like, I don't need to be doing this. Like it's kind of like important, but like doesn't need my brain, doesn't need me anymore or anyone on your team. So it could be those three things, could be something entirely different. You know your stuff best. And so what I'm going to do, let me just prep this really quickly. I'm going to walk you through the back end of my ChatGPT, how I build custom GPTs for my business and how you could do the same in yours, whether it's for those use cases or other ones. So let me share my screen actually. And before I share my screen, I want you to make sure that you have got where I'll start with one task, one thing that you're doing daily that you're spending a lot of time still going back and forth talking to them about. So I want you to start with that. And I also want you to start with any brand documents that you have. If you don't have brand documents of like who you are, who you speak to, your voice guidelines, all of that, I have a workbook at $37 in 90 minutes. You could build that out for you, use it once, and then fuel your custom GPT with it so that you never have to be like, oh, well, that doesn't sound like me. This sounds like me. It's clear from day one. So I want you to have that if you don't have it already. I want you to have your best examples of work that you've done where you're like, oh, this did so well, or this just really felt like me, or this delivered whatever your goal was. And I want you to kind of really think about like, what's the nitty gritty that you need for this to work? And more importantly, for it to feel like you and not some like cold robot that's trying to work on your behalf. So now let me share my screen. Okay. So if you come into ChatGPT, yours will probably look a little bit different than mine. You would probably have GPTs up here because I started building GPTs. Mine are in here and I can expand it. We could see all of them. You could see like then these are all the chats up here. A few things to call out is one, you need to at least be on the pro plan for this. Let me hide this. And then two, one of the shortcomings that I do still think that ChatGPT has is that once you build the GPT, and I'll show you how that works, and every time you use it, it starts a new thread. Like you can't just stay in that thread. So each thread is building from the foundation that you are setting up right now so that there's still not the repetitive explaining back and forth, all of that stuff. But I do personally wish that I could just kind of keep things more easily in the same place. I just thought of a workaround as I was doing it. So like we'll go from there. All right, so let's go into how we build a custom GPT. Let me move my face. And so like I said, your GPTs might be up here, but you're going to come up here and then you're going to go to explore GPTs and you're going to see that there's actually already a bunch of GPTs available with like a lot of the things that you're probably using daily. For you, what you're going to do is you're going to come up to this black button, you're going to hit create, and let me move this out of the way, and you're just going to start naming it. So let's say that you are looking for a social media admin. You could add an image if you want. Description, this is just like a one-liner for you. It would fall under here. I'm going to back out of here in a second and show you my real custom GPTs because they're already set up, ready to go. But then let me just walk you through it really quickly. So these are the instructions. I think it's like, can't remember how many character counts. It's pretty long, but still like there is a character count. But this is where you put the nitty gritty instructions. So like I said, I really want you to think through like, what exactly do you need in order for this to be successful? Because like, we don't need just someone to create captions for us. We need them to feel like us. We need them to connect with our people. We need them to like really work with the algorithms and set us apart and resonate and convert, whatever conversion means to you. If there are repetitive things that you're doing all the time where like you're like, okay, write me an Instagram caption, write me hooks, like whatever the case may be, you can actually start to put in conversation starters. So write me hooks for Avatar 1. And then let me move it over here and you'll see over there. And then you could be like, okay. And then the other thing that I'm always doing is, let me see, think through a carousel post for Avatar 2, whatever the case may be. I know that's not spelled correctly, but you can see it's there. And then when you come here, once it's trained right now, it'll be like, what are you doing? But like once it's trained, you could be like, do this. And you'll see that it'll just start doing this. Like all AI tools, it's a mirror. What you feed, what you show it, you get back. So you could see that this was, this thing said it's about Avatar the movie. But you could see it's giving me 20 hooks for Avatar 1, the movie. Okay. The other thing that I really want you to do or pay attention to when I said go and gather everything, I just put these as Word docs. Or if I actually like build a lot of stuff in Google Drive, then download them and upload them. So this is where you would start to upload everything. And then for me, because it's important that like for some of my things, it needs to be able to search the web, do all of that stuff. I just leave these checked. And then once you're done, and you're not done at this point, I'm going to go in, I'm going to back out of here, show you mine for real. But once you're done, you've checked it, you validated it, it's all running the way that you want, you would hit create. And then you could decide if you want it for just you to see it, if you want to be able to share it with people, and it will give you the link. I'm going to say no to none of that. I'm going to go into my GPTs. And because I didn't save it, you won't see it in here. But so these are the GPTs that I use pretty regularly. So like I said, for me, it's like the podcast pitching. It's also what we're doing on our podcast. And then it's the social media assistant. So which one do I want to walk you through? Let's do this one. So in here, we can see, now I'm going to actually like walk you through the ins and outs of everything. So this is what it is. Here's my instructions. And so this is based off of like who I am, what the podcast is doing, all of this stuff. These are actually short instructions. Like if I go into the podcast pitching ones, sorry that I keep having to move my face. It's so annoying, but I haven't figured out a better way to do it just yet. But if I go into other ones, you could see that like some of these are really long and really like nuanced and nitty gritty and all of that stuff. But for this one, the just regular podcast editor, it's decently short by our standards. And then you can see I have some conversation starters based off of what I'm up to. And then this and the instructions, this is the crux. One pro tip that I do want to give you that I think is so helpful is you are probably here because you were like, oh, I've just been talking to ChatGPT so much about this. Like, let me like just train this and do it this right one time. If you have been going back and forth with like in a thread, like one thread in particular or one chat in particular, what I will do sometimes when I'm like, okay, wait, I've done this now like 3 times at least, like let me just make a custom GPT. I will go in and my little cheat code is I'll say, hey, I'm going to build a custom GPT on this. Can you please give me everything that I need to feed into my like custom GPT in order to make this so effective, to sound like me, to talk to my target audience, to like really reach them and like, take them along their sales journey, like whatever the goal is that we're trying to do. Please let me know everything you need from me. And I'll say, please write out the instructions based off of the character count. Let me actually like look that up. Custom GPT. I should know this off the top of my head. Character limit. Is it 8,000? 8,000. Okay, perfect. I thought that, but I was scared to say it in case I was wrong. So please write me the instructions no more than 8,000 characters, and then let me know what knowledge docs you need. So as you can see, there are 6 knowledge documents in here, which is what makes this so effective and so successful. And also the thing that I hear about like from a lot of people that I talk to about using AI in their business is like, oh, okay, like I can do it for some like copywriting things, or I could like play around with an image here or there, but like there's no way I'm going to give it anything of consequence because I need it to feel like me, like my brand, my ethos, me is so important and baked into everything that I've done, that I do, that I'm not going to, I haven't figured out how to turn this work, this being ChatGPT or Claude or whoever, into an extension of what I'm up to. This is how you do it right here. So a couple things. So first of all, we have DEM is digitally enhanced marketing. We have my brand book. And this is like our holy grail of like who we are, what we do, who we're talking to. We have all of our client avatars in there and like really get into their psyche. We're so clear on like what's worked, what hasn't worked, what we're up to right now, what that journey looks like. And it just is so rich and so robust. And like I said, like if you don't have this right now and you're like, oh, like I have it like in my head or spread out over a million documents, but I don't have one central place, I will drop the link to, I call it the AI Voice Amplifier Workbook. I'll drop that link in the description below. $37 takes about 90 minutes and you can build this out. And this, I use this in every single one of my chat GPTs or custom GPTs for my business because why would I try to start fresh every single time? So once you have it, you can use it for all your custom GPTs. And then every conversation that comes out of any of those custom GPTs are baked in and infused with you and what really matters. The other things that I have in here that are really important is the instructions, a little bit more of like kind of these are the initial instructions, but then I took it even further, even though I was just talking about how those were like short and sweet. I have what are we actually trying to achieve? Like, what's the community we're building? What's the goals? All of that stuff. And then how are we positioning this podcast so that you are so clear on like what it is, what we do, all of that stuff. And you know how to speak from both the agency and from the podcast. And then these are really important. And this is what I never want you to forget about for any of these things. I want you to give it examples of what you want it to write like. And for other custom GPTs, I'll like reference key notes of like, hey, do this in your output, and I'll put it into the instructions like step by step, so clear. But then I could also say, so here are examples of how we do our show notes. And then here's examples of how we do our emails and write those emails. You can also do how you do your social captions. Like for in our social media admin thing, what I did was I even took, here's our most successful pieces of content, analyze them. Let me know why, like, here's why I think that they were so successful. You look at them too, and I want to replicate that success. So once you have all that, you've put it all in, this is where you can start actually testing it. So let's pretend, so for my actual podcast, like I think of the ideas, but oftentimes I'll like kind of validate it and be like, all right, for this person that I'm trying to talk to, like what holes am I missing? Like, here's what I think is on their mind, but let me know what you think. So basically, let me actually go through. So what I do, how I handle my podcast is I write the scripts because I can be really long-winded. And even with this, like I haven't written the scripts. And so I think that's why it's like a little like stream of conscious. So I will write it first. And then, so what I would do is I would say, I'm also like big on my notes app. So let's say, please take my next podcast episode and validate it to make sure there are no holes that I'm missing that will really help inspire my audience to take the next step. Also, I have thoughts on what the title should be, but please validate it from an SEO findability standpoint. I don't know if that's a real word. I think it is, but that's okay. And then create the show notes and supplemental email from the templates you have in your configuration. And then I'm always spelling words wrong, and that's okay. I don't know why I just sang that. But so then what I would do, this is an old thing. So it will probably still find something, but that's okay. We already recorded it. I would just copy all that in. Obviously, I already have the show notes because I used this editor before. So what you would do is once you're configuring, you want to actually test it. And the way that you can do it is two ways. In here, or in the preview. I like to like in Create, I'm normally like going back and forth and being like, and we can even go that route. So ignore what I just did. What you would say is, please review everything in your instructions and knowledge docs and make sure you understand the needs, my needs and your expectation, my needs and your expectations. Please let me know if you need anything else to deliver exactly like me and hit our goals every time. So this is where you'll actually start to get live feedback of like, is it getting it? Is it making sense? Is there anything like that you don't know about that they need to do better? And so it's going to take a second to actually look at everything that we put in there, and then it's going to report back. So I'm going to stop talking, let it do its thing, and we will kind of see what it has to say. And then we'll go back to what I was just doing beforehand in my notes app. Okay. So what you would do is, because I've tested this a million times in a million different ways, is you would go through and you'd be like, okay, does this make sense? Is anything missing? I know that nothing is missing. So I'd be like, great, got it, love it. But you could see all of the stuff. You'll see that it has like little questions that like I could probably clarify more, where I do in a lot of my emails be like, and in this 9-minute episode, in this 10-minute episodes, whatever the case may be. But you would go through, answer those questions. And then more importantly, rather than just answer the questions here, because it doesn't matter until you fix it in the configuration. So you will either take what it's telling you that you need, and you will either add it into the instructions and or the existing knowledge docs that you have in here, or create new knowledge docs. This is the key. This is what takes it from like, okay, good, it's getting me like 70% of the way there, to like, oh no, this is like 95% of the way there, 98% of the way there. So you would do that. Let's pretend I did it. And now we're actually going to go back to, okay, so we got it all perfect. Sorry, we got all this perfect. It's ready to go. Let's test it out before we publish it. So what I just wrote before you guys saw me write it, I copy all this. I'm going to paste it into here, and I'm going to see if we like what it did. And then from there, and you can see it's actually searching the knowledge docs. One other thing to call out, depending on what the task is, you could say, don't look at anything but the instructions in the knowledge docs. For some of my custom GPTs, I have that for a very specific reason, because I don't want them going rogue. I only want them to go based off of what I told them. For other things like my podcast sourcing, custom GPT, I need you to go out of ChatGPT and I need you to start searching, and I need you to like let me know what's going on outside of the world and on the web, so that you could do your job properly. And then you could use the instructions and the knowledge docs to deliver exactly what I need. But so you could see then, I already recorded it, so like tough cookies for me if I find anything incredible that we didn't see the first time around when I ran this through. But it will start to tell you like, okay, so here's what I'm seeing here. Like I asked it to poke holes, so here's some potential holes that it's poking through, and then here are the show notes. So the specific things in the custom GPT, as I said, like you literally only have 100 characters for the episode title. So I said, here's what I was thinking for the episode title, but like let me know based off of what you saw. SEO, searchability, findability is what I said, if that's a word, for 100 characters. So here's some options. Here's some show notes in the this is all exactly like the structure and the template that I've asked it to deliver in. And then the email. So subject line, preview text, all of that stuff. And then if we are actually looking at this kind of sounds like me. Like, can I ask you something honest? Are things feeling heavier than they should right now? And then like I do oftentimes go into like the emotional reassurance, so that we can then move you from like, hey, you're feeling this way, but let's move you out of this. So this really does feel like my structure and my voice, because I trained it on my structure, my voice, my voice. If I had made any updates, sometimes I get nervous. I don't actually want to do anything. I would press this black button and it would update everything. When you are ready to go, when you build yours, you'll press that black button as well. And then you'll say, do I want this for only me? Do I want a shareable link? Blah, blah, blah. And so once you have it, you'll start to see it in your GPTs list, and you'll also see it down here. And then what you could do is you'll see, here's the live version. So just gonna like copy and paste everything again from here so that you could see it there. Just know that like if we hadn't been just testing this, you wouldn't have just seen me do it. So let's say like we already tested it, we're on to the next episode, we're doing all those things. This is where you then come in, and it's going to do the same thing, a little bit different because now it's like the live version and it's going to deliver everything that we asked for. The one thing that I do want to call out is you come in here, it's creating all this stuff. It's also in a second going to turn it and push it into just a regular chat. So that's where you can go back and forth, go into it again and start to edit it out. But AI framing is good, but could feel safer just looking at this stuff really quickly. But you could kind of see that it's delivering all of the stuff that I did or that I asked it to. And again, if I hadn't just looked at this, I'd be looking at this being like, okay, does this make sense? You can see again, structure is the same structure that I asked for. All of this stuff, it's going to do my email really quickly. And you can see similar but different. Can I offer a slightly uncomfortable thought? And you would just go in and be like, okay, like, does this feel like me? Does it not? But yeah, so that is it. And then let me just refresh this really quickly so you could see that when you come back, so it's like I said, it now is a new chat. When you come here and you go back to podcast marketing and editor, it's going to start fresh. You then just go into this, will name it eventually. You come here. Let me refresh it again and see if it names it on its own. But see, content strategy review. And then you could name it and you could be, I would say, episode 8, I think it was. Entrepreneurship. Or you can, I'm going to leave that for right now because I can't type and spell at the same time or talk and type and spell at the same time. So you can then come back in here and you can turn this into like, this is always the one chat that I'm asking for this one for my podcast. This is if I had done the podcast sourcing, if I had done the social media caption, you could always come in here. The one thing that I do want to say about this is that for anything that deals with just your knowledge documents, totally fine. Like this is still going back to your knowledge documents. I think that you do a better job starting a new thread every time because then it's like really going into your knowledge documents. Anything that's going offline, like the podcast sourcing piece where you're saying go search the web, I think you have to start from a custom GPT. I forget like anytime I just try to be like, okay, can you like create this for me from an existing thread? All of a sudden it loses the capability to search offline. So there are some quirks that do still need to be worked through, but let me stop sharing my screen so I could actually talk to you. But this really starts to take so much off your plate. Like I said, you already know the value of AI. You're already starting to use it more impactfully in your business. And you're just kind of like, how do we take this and make it even stronger? This is how you do it. This is how it really starts to turn into this like, oh, that's nice. That was super helpful to like, oh no, this actually like really saved me some time and effort without sacrificing quality, without sounding like a robot, without losing my unique touch and my heart and soul and all of that stuff. So hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. I'll do the same thing with like Claude projects, eventually like turn it into Claude skills, all of that stuff. But for right now, if you have any questions about how I set up my custom GPTs for my business, for the various areas of my business that just were very super repetitive, let me know. If you want the workbook, I'll drop it below, but like, you've got this. It's going to be great. And I'm here if you have any questions. Just like leave them as comments. You've got this though.